was one of them amazing claps. Okay. I guess we start the show now. I really don't know. Is that how we do this thing?
It's worked so far.
Well, worked.
But we're not out yet.
Alrighty. Hello and welcome to episode 564 of the Player One podcast for Tuesday, August 29th, 2017. I'm your host, Chris Johnston. And that went a whole lot easier because Phil's not here to interrupt me. I just noticed. Phil is off on a picnic. So today we have with us from the great country of Canada, Mr. Greg Stewart. Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. Mostly because I've got my computer back and I can stop watching JoJo Siwa videos now.
All right. I don't know what that means.
Going a bit. Oh, you don't know JoJo Siwa?
No.
I wish I didn't know JoJo Siwa.
Did I tell you I deleted YouTube Kids off of my daughter's iPad?
I don't even think YouTube Kids is even a thing here.
Yeah, I deleted it because she was watching videos of I think I may have said it on the show. There was some kid who has a YouTube channel. It had some like 60 million views of this video where she runs away from her dad at the mall.
Oh god.
And my daughter thought that was the most hilarious thing. And I was like, oh my god, I'm horrified by this.
Yes.
Like, and that and some escape the school videos.
What?
Yep. Yeah, it's a game in Roblox. But she started trying to escape the school for real, and that was bad. So I was like, goodbye, YouTube.
It's especially bad on like your third day of school. Didn't she just start school?
Yes. So goodbye to YouTube.
I have a problem with a lot of YouTube child YouTube personalities. None of that sits very well with me.
Yeah.
Well, how do you feel about the adults who do like stories with the Disney figures?
That just seems so creepy to me.
It is super creepy. Yeah, my wife put a ban on my son watching unwrapping videos for toys. She just said that it's toy porn to her. It's like just she has the hardest time understanding the value of it.
Oh, see, I don't mind unboxing videos. That's fine. But when it comes to like condoning bad behavior, I draw the line.
I mean, there's some, exactly. There's some creative stuff on there, especially some of the adults do. Like, there's one there's one that my daughter really loves, and I don't. Oh, Tiffany. I don't know. Her first name's Tiffany. Anyway, she's one of those, those thousands upon thousands of female YouTubers now that all you ever see are her hands. And they're all, they're all the nails are painted and they're all sparkly and glittery and everything. And those are usually like blind bag opening videos, those types of things. But what this woman has been doing is she actually takes like dolls of existing characters and she actually repaints them and styles them so that they're dolls of other characters.
I have seen that. I've seen that.
That's creative.
We're putting like like clay on.
Yes. Yeah. There's another one that Cookie Swirl C does that a lot. My daughter loves Cookie Swirl C. Okay. And then there's Tiffany Bliss is the other one that she's really into right now. Okay. But but it's funny because then tonight she was watching some YouTube before bed, and she like I said, she's huge into this girl JoJo Siwa, who's like she was a kid that was on Dance Moms years ago, and she's become a brand. She's like 13 or 14 years old. And my daughter's nuts about her. But anyway, she found this video where this woman took like an American Girl doll that looks like her and then created this whole diorama of her room based on her room tour video. The whole thing was creepy as hell. When you realize that the person who's putting this together is probably in their mid 30s, early 40s.
Yep. Yes.
It feels really, really creepy. So,
well, I mean, that's where we are. We're talking about video games, right? We're not doing.
We're talking to other like late 30s, early 40s.
We're not doing dioramas of our offices out of American Girl dolls. That would just be creepy. And joining me from the great state of California, Mr. Ethan Einhorn. Hello.
Hello, it's great to be back. And I'll tell you, I would always choose you guys over a picnic.
Thank you.
Excellent. Yes, thank you.
I have priorities straight.
It's so true. So true. All right, well let's talk about some video games.
I don't know. Let's talk about child YouTube stars a little bit more.
I don't think we've nearly talked about that enough. So last week we got some more information about the SNES Classic, the Super Nintendo Classic. Nintendo released a pretty cool video that was like a 90s throwback ad. They showed off a new feature of the SNES Classic, which is a rewind feature.
Very cool.
Which is quite cool.
Yes.
Although it works only on your save states, so you can't like do a controller combination to invoke it. You actually have to go as if you're booting up a save state and then press a certain button or whatever. And they have different lengths of time you can go back depending on which game it is. So,
which, by the way, that limitation I'm fine with, so that I don't spam it. Because if I was able to do it whenever I wanted, as quickly as I wanted, I think that would become a crutch.
But you've got save states, so that's already kind of a crutch on its own.
That's true. That's true.
But this is like the Omega 13. This is for quick. You can undo a single mistake with that.
Yeah.
To continue the Galaxy Quest references.
That's like what they did with the Disney Afternoon collection. Very handy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Although I think with Disney Afternoon, you can just you can rewind as much as you want.
Yes, you can.
Right?
Yeah, it's pretty open.
Okay.
Pretty handy with Super Punch Out, though. If Bald Bull just rolls you over, nice.
Yeah, if you get the timing wrong or something.
Which I will every time.
I have not finished Super Punch Out ever.
Me neither.
So
I've never finished Punch Out either.
Though I will say that next level's Wii Punch Out game is better than Super Punch Out, in my opinion.
I don't know if I finished that one. I don't think I did.
Yeah, you should. Just public service announcement. If you haven't beaten that game, you must, because once you beat it, you play it over again, and all of the things that you've learned about how to defeat the bosses changes. So, for instance, King Hippo has like armor on his belly, so you can't just use that attack.
Damn.
Interesting.
Good stuff.
Yeah, so the Super Nintendo Classic, a lot of outlets had hands-on videos come out last week, and also as part of that, pre-orders went live on a couple of retailers. Mm-hmm. The first one being in the middle of the night.
Love it.
Yeah,
on Monday.
For you.
Yeah, it was past 1 a.m. when that went up, so I was sound asleep. I was catching Z's.
I got real lucky because not only am I 3 hours earlier than you are, but I was in a position where Uncharted Lost Legacy would have just come out, and I got just a little ping on my phone from Greg Ford, who said, go to Best Buy website right now. So I was able to run over and get my pre-order in. And so that made me very happy. Greg Ford not only got his Best Buy pre-order, but then the next morning went to GameStop right next to his new house and ended up getting a second pre-order.
All right.
So, yeah.
So
I ended up doing that too, just because I have an EB Games right next to work, and know the one of the workers there pretty well. And I just sort of heard a rumor that there were going to be pre-orders, so I just fired him an email saying, "Hey, are you guys going to be doing pre-orders today?" And like 10 minutes later, he's like, "Yep, they open right now. Come over, and you'll get one." Boom. So I did.
Nice.
Yeah, lots of complaining about how it was handled, though. Understandably so.
Plenty of complaints. Yes, I was also able to get a pre-order. I got.
How'd you do
Target. So Target and Walmart went live a little later in the day. I did not get in on the first round of either one. They immediately went out as soon as I landed on the page. So I kept the Target thing, like kept a Super NES Classic like in my saved items. And then around 4 or 5 p.m., people started saying, "Hey, like I'm able to finally like move it from my saved items into my cart and pre-order it." So I tried that and it worked. So I got one from Target.
Nice.
And a little bit later, as I was driving my daughter home from school Friday, Walmart went up with some more pre-orders. So I pulled into a McDonald's parking lot as we were driving home and got a backup. So I have one at Walmart too.
So all three of us have that.
He's like, Daddy, I'm going to leave for school. You're like, shut up. This is important.
Well, I was bringing her home from school, so I had time and plenty of time.
Okay. So one of those is the giveaway for the Extra Life campaign, right?
Well, I don't know if something doesn't fall through.
All right.
If one of these pre-orders gets canceled, then that's
Attaboy.
I mean, you got to have backups, right? But some people were able to take advantage of a problem with when Amazon put up the SNES Classic under like a wrong listing and pre-order dozens of units. And some of those people have gotten them canceled, but other people still have like numerous pre-orders from that. And of course, there are lots of editorials on various video game websites talking about how the pre-orders are a mess and Nintendo should be ashamed and all that.
No one is surprised.
Good stuff.
Business as usual.
Why are we surprised that we're having problems with this? I mean, the NES Classic was such a sought-after item and so lucrative to a lot of scalpers that you knew it didn't matter how many pre-orders were available at the start, it was going to be crazy, right?
Well, doesn't that mean then that Nintendo is in a no-win situation there?
Oh, I think they are in a no-win situation because really, like they could have offered up, double the amount of pre-orders and bots would have gotten them all from Walmart and Target. Like they went so quickly that it had to have been in part bots that were skimming those sites.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And last time they didn't do pre-orders at all, so they did try this time to make it a little bit easier on people. But
it's slightly better.
I'm happy that I was able to get my pre-order. At the same time, I would be really, really upset if I didn't, especially because that makes it all the harder to just wait in line and hope you get one. With NES Classic, I had. Go ahead, Greg.
I don't know. I don't think they're in a no-win situation because, at the end of the day, what'll happen, which is what always happens, and what happened with the NES Classic, is you go to a place like a Target and they get like 5.
Yep.
Yeah. That's something that Nintendo could do something about. But,
Possible. Yeah. What I think is going to be more important here is the follow-through. Well, like what do the second, third, fourth, fifth shipments look like?
Right.
And hopefully those won't get snatched up from scalpers as easily. And I did think that Amazon was going to do what they did with the NES Classic, which is require a Prime membership in order to order them. And that has definitely
class warfare
made those a little bit easier to get. I was able to order one that way myself. And that's how I got my Switch was Prime only orders. So, I'm sure they'll do that at this point. I guess the difference here is that this is a time-limited item, so a lot of people want to get in on this first or second shipment and make sure that they get one. And it's kind of a mess. I mean, we'll just have to see how everything flows through the fall.
Yep, and it's going to be available before you know it, too. I mean, it's really right around the corner.
It's a month away, yeah.
Yeah.
It's close. All right. Speaking of Nintendo, they announced a new character for ARMS.
Mm-hmm.
Little female clown girl who can expand.
Anyone even play that game anymore?
And
I play it. I play it a lot. It's awesome.
Lola is her name. And she's
a
clown. And she's coming with version 3 of ARMS, which I don't think they've even said a release date for that. Mm-hmm. But coming soon. So just still updating that.
Got to give Nintendo credit for that kind of long-term support. Also, all free, keeps things interesting. They're also constantly tuning and balancing that game, which is great.
Yes, indeed. Speaking of updates, Splatoon 2 got one this past weekend and added the Manta Maria map, which is pretty cool.
New weapon.
And they also got a new map for Salmon Run this weekend and a new weapon. So a lot of good stuff coming for existing Switch players.
Yep.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, let's talk about Secret of Mana, which just so happens, I think, to be on the SNES Classic, right? Square Enix has announced that they are working on a remake of the game for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation Vita.
Yeah.
Oddly enough.
Weird.
That comes out in February. Yeah, that is weird. Who would have figured, right?
I don't know.
It's alive.
It lives on.
It's alive.
I know somebody would have figured, but I just sort of run on the assumption that he's wrong when it comes to this stuff.
Nope, it's a living system. Really excited to see that, and I will play it on my Vita. Can't wait for that.
I like how a lot of people on my Twitter timeline, when this got announced, are like, "Where's the Switch version?" Like, doesn't Square Enix know that the Switch is where it's at?
Yeah, it's weird. Like Mega Man Collection 2 is suspiciously not available for Switch. Also. You would think that
collection too. Like there's a lot of stuff that should be Switch or.
Well, that's I mean, Capcom is a thing right now with Switch support, doesn't it? Like, weren't they the ones that didn't put Disney Afternoon Collection on the Switch as well?
That's right.
Yeah.
They didn't. Alrighty. Well, we're going to be playing Secret of Mana remake soon enough on our PlayStation hardware.
Though there's also been some hints as to maybe we're going to hear something about Bayonetta on Switch sometime soon. Way back when, a few months ago, they had, I think it was an Instagram post that showed the Bayonetta 1 and Bayonetta 2 characters, one behind blue, one behind red background.
That can mean anything.
It could mean anything, but apparently, one of the leads on the game shared a social media post that was just a picture of a Switch dev kit. So,
yeah,
that would be so good on Switch.
And you're also getting things like the Final Fantasy 15 team was being interviewed on Twitch or something, and they about the mobile port of Final Fantasy 15, which is coming out soon. I don't know if you heard about that.
Which is supposedly the same game, chibi style.
Yeah, with chibi, super deformed looking characters.
It's awesome.
And said or hinted maybe that it would come to Switch, which is very odd for them to do. But yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll be playing Final Fantasy 15 on the Nintendo Switch. That'll be interesting.
Cool. I love it.
Yes, indeed. Okay, so the guy who worked on the story for Half-Life, wrote some of that stuff, has shared the story outline for Half-Life 2 Episode 3.
Which means we're never getting Half-Life 2 Episode 3.
Which means, that's not happening, right? But hey, they were working on it at one point. And
yeah, I'm sure. I mean, they were talking about it forever, and they were advertising, weren't they, at one point? So
were they advertising it?
Do you think Valve at this point? Do you think Valve will only do service games at this point? That their product games are just done?
Well, they announced didn't they announce a card game, a Dota card game?
Yeah, that's still a service game, though. I'm talking about more like Portal and Half-Life and stuff like that. Story games.
I hope they go back to Portal. Portal was great.
I don't see why they would at this point. Are the people who made Portal and Portal 2 even around anymore?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, you ask, you don't see why they would, but think about any other publisher that would have properties like Half-Life and Portal. The idea of them leaving them dormant would just not happen.
Well, any other publisher doesn't have
Steam.
Doesn't have Steam, or I mean, you can look at Japanese publishers that have a thriving mobile business have been walking away from franchises like Metal Gear Solid and Castlevania, right?
Yeah,
and Mega Man.
True.
You have that happen all the time. It's sad.
I guess that's true.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they're making all their cash on Steam. They don't need it.
That's true.
It sucks. I mean, there are. I think at this point, fans have way bigger spot in their hearts for those franchises than anyone at Valve does. It seems so.
Yeah.
That may be true, but I'll just counter with this. When a company is in that position, that's exactly when you hope they would do that, because whether it's a market fit for the way business is going right now or not, they can afford to take that risk. They can do something because they have money to burn. And it would be just great for them to say, okay, whether this is a blockbuster or not, we're putting it out there. And come on, it would be a blockbuster. Half-Life 3 or Half-Life 2 Episode 3. People would love it.
That's true, but on the flip side of that, I would say that it's not just a matter of money. They do have the money. Well, I assume they have the money to burn on that. But man, AAA game development sucks. It's a lot to put yourself through.
Yeah.
When you don't have to, I'm totally serious. And something of that caliber, like the expectation would be so high, there'd be no way they'd ever live up to it. Mm-hmm. And it would be nothing but pain to get there. It would probably drag on for years and years and years. I agree with you. Yes, you would think that somebody in that position, you would hope that a company in that position would take that risk because they can afford to take that risk. But man, I could totally see not doing it just because, game development stuff.
Well, you look at something like, the Hothead games, right? By far their worst games are their mobile games, but that's what gives them the ability to sustain themselves. So the good stuff they used to make, they won't anymore because it's...
Yeah, but that's a little bit different. The good stuff they used to make almost broke them.
Right.
Yeah, that's not Valve, but yeah. That's kind of what we were talking about last week. At the end of the day, it's a business. Why, even if I'm flush with cash, why would I take on an endeavor that may lose money?
Good point. Yeah. Very good point. All right. Speaking of money, Final Fantasy and Assassin's Creed are doing a crossover. And for some DLC. So there's going to be some kind of Assassin's Creed DLC coming to Final Fantasy 15, and then a sort of question mark on how Final Fantasy is going to come to the Assassin's Creed universe, but allegedly that's going to happen at some point too. So yeah, pretty odd. I never would have expected that type of crossover to happen, but it's happening. So
I wouldn't have expected Mario and Rabbids either. So
that's a good point.
The world's upside down.
That's a really good point. I was listening to the Nintendo Voice Chat podcast this week, and they were talking about Mario and Rabbids and how before anybody really knew anything about that game, before E3, everybody hated on that game.
Mm-hmm. Well, why wouldn't you?
I know. Seriously, the concept just seems absolutely ridiculous. But then, of course, you see the product as it is, and it looks pretty good. Mm-hmm. So, in that
here's
case,
the thing, though. It does look pretty good. I'm really excited about it next week. I would be even more excited about it
this week.
That's right. Yeah, Tuesday. Mm-hmm. But I would be even more excited about it if it was without rabbits. If it was an XCOM style game in the Mushroom Kingdom with Mario and his friends, I would like it better without the rabbits. I have no problem with Ubisoft making it. I think they're great, especially the Montreal studio. But the rabbits is definitely not a +1 in terms of the attractiveness of the product to me.
Sure.
No, same here. It's not a selling point at all.
I'd rather it be a
bite of the
Mario plus Assassin's Creed. Let's make that.
Yeah. Somebody's saying, somebody in the chat is asking, like, Mario Rabbids looks good, but isn't it basically just a less robust XCOM copycat? Yes, and that's one of the reasons I'm excited about it.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. Yeah. Frankly, I would have preferred Mario and Sonic, but we can't have.
Who wouldn't?
But they're in the Olympic Games.
Yeah, they're
their thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can't have them in more than one game. That's just nuts.
Exactly. Speaking of Mario stuff coming to other games, Rocket League Switch is getting some exclusive cars, including one skinned for Mario and one skinned for Luigi. And there's also a Metroid-themed Samus's Gunship car as well.
Do you just get the skins? Do we know that yet, or not?
These are free. Yes.
Loot boxes.
Awesome. That's cool.
Not to be a loot box. They do sell customizations, but I believe these are free.
Cool.
I may be wrong, but yeah, that's pretty cool. When the game comes out later this year, then we'll get
when does that new Metroid 3DS game come out?
September 15th.
Good Lord, I'm gonna be so broke by the end of September.
There are too many good games coming out.
Damn,
it is week after week of amazing game, and I asked earlier this weekend on Twitter, like, should I buy Destiny 2? And I'm thinking, like, I probably don't even need to, because I have so many other games to play that even now, like, I have Sonic Mania to go back to. I still want to play more Night Trap. I have Agents of Mayhem. I have, like, a lot of stuff.
I think it's fair to say that if you are going to be like all Destiny 2 all the time as a listener, this isn't going to be your podcast.
Right. No.
But you know what? That's actually
Destiny 2 podcasts that you can listen to.
That's actually like a good point, which, I mean, I know you guys seem to spend a little more time than or have a little more time. Ethan, it seems like you found a lot more time for gaming than I have. But the something like a Destiny 2, man, for the limited amount of time that I have to play, I couldn't play anything else if I wanted to get anywhere in that game.
Sure.
That's right. Yeah.
I'd have to be playing that game exclusively for like the next 6 months.
And there are people who do that.
Well, I know
there are people who love that.
That's the same reason that I didn't get into things like World of Warcraft, or honestly even Phantasy Star Online.
I think so much of it is an age thing too, and just right time and place. Because I remember I played Phantasy Star Online pretty obsessively with the same group of people for months on end, and that to me was my destiny. You know, if I was 25 again, I probably would be all over Destiny 2.
Yeah, maybe I would be too. If I was young and no kids and
it's a good game, but Destiny 1, I ended up actually buying twice. I bought the original game when it came out, and then bought the update. I forget what it was even called. But despite doing that, I think I put a sum total of 4 hours into the entire series. Was impressed with the very, very little I played, but it just, I don't have the time, as Greg said.
I played more of the beta of the original one than I did with the final game, although I bought the final game. So yeah, maybe I'll skip this one, at least for a little while. I'll skip it. Let them work out the bugs and whatnot. All right.
I hate to say, but for me, it's also that way with Battlefront 2, which looks super cool. But again, Battlefront 1 was a game that I popped in, said, "Wow, this looks amazing," and played for, in that case, I think less than 2 hours.
Right.
Battlefront 2 I will grab just because my son is so excited about it.
That's a great reason.
If it was just me, I would be the same way. I would have played probably about 3 hours of Battlefront, but the fact that my son was so into that game, we played together all the time. So
sure.
Or let me say,
that's the only reason I'm getting it on launch day.
If the solo campaign is interesting, I might Redbox it.
God, I hope it is. That to me is the other thing that's got me going on that. Is like, I know I'll play a ton of it no matter what because Holden's so excited, but I really hope it's something that, after he's gone to bed, I can spend like 6 hours or so in a single player. I hope that's about the length of it, just in a single player campaign that, it sort of gets the Star Wars nerd in me excited. And
well, I had heard today that the space stuff, the ship combat is being done by Criterion, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well, I also wanted to take a moment here and encourage people who have heard about the devastation there in Texas, Houston flooding and the Galveston area, to check out the Red Cross, make a donation if you can, like do your part to help people who are affected in that area. I used to live in Houston.
I was going to say, isn't that around your old stomping grounds?
Old stomping grounds, and I've been looking at the photos and video out of Houston, and it's just absolutely heartbreaking and devastating for a lot of people. I know we have listeners in Houston, and my heart goes out to anybody who's been displaced by the floodwaters. But yeah, definitely there's an app. I think you can, on the iTunes store, donate directly to the Red Cross through Apple.
Nice.
It's really easy, and definitely do that if you've got a second, because they're going to need it.
Yeah, please do. That's terrible.
Absolutely. All right. Why don't we talk about the games that we have been playing? And Ethan, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, I've been playing quite a bit, actually. So I played through Uncharted Lost Legacy. How
many hours did it take you?
I'm curious. Probably 6.5, 7 hours, something like that.
Really? Okay, that's good. Because when they upped the price and like decided to sell it as a standalone product, I was like, well, I hope I kind of hope this isn't like a 15 to 20 hour thing, because I kind of, I just finished Uncharted 4 not too long ago. And while I do love the Uncharted games, I don't know that I necessarily need that exact gameplay again
for 15 more hours,
or 20 hours. Like, I would like a concise story that doesn't feel like it's been padded to go on too long. And
it's so whenever I go to Chicago, like my ultimate comfort food is Portillo's. I go every single time I make it to Chicago, and Uncharted is exactly like that to me. It's like, it's a taste that when you're away from it long enough, you just savor it. It tastes delicious when you have it. It doesn't surprise you at all. It's exactly what you remember, you know? And no one will call it fancy or profound, but you just really feel at home. And it's not just that, it's a great gameplay experience, but it also, for me, it's the familiarity of it reminds me of back when I played Uncharted 1 and really was excited by all the innovations in Uncharted 2 and all of that. It's just, it brings me kind of back down, to a set of memories that mean a lot to me. So, every single minute in this game is carefully crafted. I think that's the other thing, is we play so many games now, including stuff like Destiny, where the aim is to just get hundreds, if not thousands of hours out of a very, limited amount of content. And here, they're able to just make every single minute feel new and different. And so you have some incredible set pieces. And I will say that the last chapter in that game just blows away from an action set piece standpoint anything else that I've seen in the series, including the amazing chase in Uncharted 4 and the train sequence in Uncharted 2. It's unbelievable.
That's strong words.
It's bigger and bigger. But when you play it, man, you will understand and appreciate. And the thing is I will spoil nothing about it other than to say it throws a lot of like really playful references to not only prior Uncharted games, but to Indiana Jones as well. It just it feels like something that must have taken them forever to produce. Like, you almost imagine that last chapter took them like 30% of their entire schedule and budget to make.
Yeah. One of the things I love, and Greg, are you gonna play this?
I am, yeah, and it's weird.
I don't want to spoil it.
I was sure I'd pre-ordered it, and somehow I didn't.
Okay.
And so anyway.
I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a point in the beginning of the game where Chloe makes a comment about a particular gameplay element that was in Uncharted 4 a lot. And I laughed out loud when, what?
The terrible gunplay?
No.
Okay.
There was a gameplay element that was involved a lot in Uncharted 4 that I didn't like, that I mentioned on the show, that is introduced, and then Chloe makes a comment about something in regard to it, and I laughed out loud. It was fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah. And addressing what Greg's saying there as well. So it still has the same loose gunplay that is not as good as Gears of War.
Sure. Well, of course.
Yeah, the fighting, the melee stuff is still kind of clumsy and simplistic. So that, again, is what I mean, where it hasn't solved any of the bigger problems of the series. It is absolutely more of the same. But what really strikes me is it is more of the same even without Nathan Drake. I mean, it is, through and through an Uncharted game, even without the lead hero, which was interesting.
Sure.
Well, yeah, I can't wait to play it. I'm gonna wait till the price goes down a little bit.
It just amazes me how much care and detail is spent on the environments in the game for something that someone could run past and be on the screen for literally like 2 seconds.
That's always been the Uncharted games, right? I mean,
it is in Last of Us as well.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to me that how absolutely like realized all of the environments are. It's fantastic.
Yeah, the game is not ashamed of pointing that out to you in a not very subtle way over and over again, where it's like it literally just is pushing you to take selfies at cliffs just so you can appreciate the art.
Nice. That's right.
So another thing, again, we'll spoil nothing, but remember that incredible scene in The Last of Us with the giraffes?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
this has another thing like that takes you by surprise. You're expecting something bad, and then something wonderful happens, and it's really, really nice. Cool. So, it has those kinds of great beats. I will say that the storytelling is not nearly as heartfelt or interesting as Uncharted 4. You had a lot of really complex dynamics with the brothers, and betrayal and trust with a married couple and all of that in Uncharted 4. And you don't get any of that here. You get a lot of bickering between two women that are interesting, but that are not as interesting as the leads in Uncharted 4. So don't expect like top tier Naughty Dog storytelling here either. But if you can forgive that and you're okay with the looser mechanics, as CJ said, the game is stunningly gorgeous and the set pieces are second to none.
Yeah. I don't even need a PS4 Pro. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Actually, and I've been spending so much of my time on the Switch, which, again, a great-looking Switch game is a great-looking game, period. But when I was playing this game, especially in the beginning where you're in the
Sure.
bazaar, and there's so many characters moving around and stuff, I had to say to myself, okay, this can't be done on the Switch. This is really incredible stuff. And I've said before, Greg, and you've disagreed with me, understandably, that I kind of sometimes can't see the difference between last era, like PS3, 360, and this era. Now, when you look at something like Uncharted, you can see the difference.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Naughty Dog stuff has always been easy. I mean, Uncharted 4 looked incredible compared to the previous generation Uncharted games. I don't think it was a better game, but it looked like a much better game.
Well, and I really, really wish we would see more content like this. I think, as CJ was saying, funny enough, he was hoping it wasn't longer than it initially seemed to be. I agree, and installments like every 6 months of like a 7-8 hour Uncharted experience for $40. I'd love it. I would love that for
any franchise,
Creed, for anything like
any franchise.
Exactly. Tomb Raider. Yeah, perfect.
I'll be honest. Now the game prices have crept up to $80 here in Canada. I'd be happy for most games to be 6 to 10 hours long and $50 a piece.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people are wondering, okay, what's next for Zelda after Breath of the Wild? Like, that took so long to develop. Would Nintendo do something similar where they take the Breath of the Wild engine and make a side story with some other characters and release it as a separate game or something like that?
Nice.
I'm all for that.
Doesn't feel like something
Well,
Nintendo would
IGN,
do. But...
Well, I don't know.
IGN made the suggestion of doing exactly that, but remaking the original Legend of Zelda from NES in the Breath of the Wild engine, which I think would be great. I mean, and that game would probably only be like 10 hours long or something like that, really.
Yeah, and you could go through any dungeon that you wanted to at any time.
So, yeah, but I think we're seeing fewer and fewer of these shorter games, but we should appreciate it. And, the Life is Strange, it's nice, those episodic games that they do offer those same kind of satisfying bursts that aren't too long. I've just been playing through Minecraft story mode, and that on the Switch. I never had played it before. Runs really nicely on the Switch, but I love playing for 2 or 3 hours and getting a chapter done. That's really satisfying.
Yeah.
Having those like really meaty stop points. By contrast, I'm playing Nier, also Autonoma, which is something that I'm really in. Automata, yes. I'm really enjoying it. It is right now. I'm at a point where it feels almost like a open world Bayonetta, where you have a lot of mechanics, including kind of the witch time dodges that come straight out of Bayonetta and are just as satisfying here. But it's open world, kind of like Xenoblade Chronicles or something like that. And is quite a lot of fun. But again, the game is huge, or seems huge at this point. I know that there's 26 different endings or something crazy like that. And that's really cool, but I just don't know if I'll ever see the end of one of those endings, much less 26 of them.
Well, you'll probably at least see the bad ending, right? Because if you die, it gives you the full credits. Fast forward, that thing.
That's right. But you know, I jumped into that one not knowing at all what to expect because I had just seen the reviews and I saw an article on GamesIndustry.biz that said that it kind of saved platinum. So based on that and sale, you know, for $40, I decided to give it a spin, knowing nothing about it. I thought maybe it was an RPG, a turn-based RPG or something. I had literally nothing about it.
Oh, all right. No.
Yeah. And so it was, right. So I was really happy with what it ended up being, and it seems to play with the idea of what mortality means in a way that is compelling and well considered, and not just kind of window dressing. So game, it's really kind of making you think about the robots that you're killing, and you know, do they have souls and things like that. And I do like games. Yeah, well, very Blade Runner, absolutely. But it's like I do like games that make you think, that are willing to take that step and have almost more of a literature approach. And I don't think we see that often. Uncharted generally gives you good acting and storytelling. You know, again, Nier Automata, but something like Zelda, which is my favorite game of the year, my favorite game, not because of storytelling. You know, it's like yeah, so it's nice to have something that's a little weightier. A lot of people said that you know, Nier is one of their favorite games of the year, and I can understand why, even in the 4 hours that I've played of it so far. So CJ, you played a bit of it, right?
I have, yeah, maybe like 2 or 3 hours in. Not
and
not
it didn't grab you?
I mean, it did, but I just haven't gotten back to it. There's too much other stuff that I need to play, so I'll get back to it at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the same old song that you've heard from me before, but the challenge, I think, for me really is also that I've been having to do a lot of it remote play. I've been doing that through my PC just because I can't get access to the TV, and that just looks like crap. And it's just a bad experience. And you know, it's like they've actually improved the frame rate on remote play, but it still doesn't look good. And that's where it's just like, I wish it was on Switch, but what can you do? Really been enjoying that though. And last one I'd say is Sonic Mania, which I played through a second time. I just love that game so much. It's so fun.
As a different character? You play it through as Knuckles or anything?
I played it through as Sonic again.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. You guys finished that one yet?
I have not finished it. I'm still at the oil zone.
I finished it last night, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, I love it. It's great. I want to go back and play it as Knuckles now. I really like how the first stage actually starts completely differently when you play as Knuckles. I don't know how much of that changes in the rest of the game. I think the second stage is pretty much the same thing. But the other thing that I think I want to do, and I never do this with games, but is I want to go back and see if I can get all the Chaos Emeralds. Do a playthrough with that. But that seems like it's going to be tough.
That's hard, man.
It's going to be tough.
Something even playing now, I still don't understand what the reward is for doing the blue sphere stuff.
There are a few different things you unlock with those medals.
Yeah,
you're
unlockables.
You're collecting those medals, and at certain thresholds, you unlock new things.
Okay,
that's all. That's all it is. It's totally not clear at first.
No.
Yeah,
but yeah, like it's kind of the same thing that it's not really clear when you find that you unlock things like the what the heck is the name of the standing spin dash? The peel out. When you unlock the peel out, it's like, oh, cool! I unlocked this feature from Sonic CD, but it's not clear how you access it at all.
Right.
So, you know, that's say probably, which is such a nitpicky complaint, but I would say that's my complaint about the game, is that it's really not clear what you've unlocked sometimes, even though they tell you. It's like, okay, so where do I go to find this? Like, it's, you know, there's no instruction for it. So, but yeah, I mean, finished it. The final boss was easier than I expected, but I believe there's another challenge if you get all 7 Chaos Emeralds. So,
which would be fitting with other Sonic games, the two, something similar. Yeah,
love it. So good. Still one of the best. Still one. It's easily in my top 5 of the year right now.
Yeah, for me, it's a number 2.
There are so many games that are fighting for that top 5.
Yeah,
like, top 10 is going to be difficult. Maybe
we should do a top 10 this year instead of a top 5.
I think that might be a good idea, because there are just too many really good games out.
I would agree with that.
and still so many more to come that have not released yet. So
do you think there's any chance that Limited Run will do a Sonic Mania physical copy?
No, I don't think so, because my understanding, and I have no insider information on this, but if I remember correctly, the guys at Limited Run said publicly that they were trying to work with Sega on the release of either Yakuza or something like that was a digital only, and just negotiations broke down because Sega's a publisher. Sega can publish. If they want something published, they'll publish it themselves.
It's true, but guess what? Guess what I got in the mail?
Nice.
Night Trap.
Yeah, mine didn't show up yet. I'm so bummed.
With the classic Sega CD cover.
So I assume that those covers are just reversible.
They are reversible, yeah, but they it was random how it came.
Oh, okay, right. Oh, yeah, and you're not opening that because you're weird. Yeah.
Well, now I don't have to open it, and if it had been the other cover, I might have opened it to flip it around.
I doubt it.
Now I don't have to. I can just leave it in the shrink wrap because I already have the game.
Very cool, though.
So jealous.
Yeah.
Fun stuff. What else? What else you got there, Greg?
Oh, so sort of been meaning to go back and do this. So I was playing through that that Baja Edge of Control game that took a lot longer to play through than I expected. So I finally finished that and been saying that I was going next. I was going to go back and play through Resident Evil 7
in VR.
Yeah, mainly because a lot of VR games and I haven't used it in a while. So I busted out the VR headset last night, and my God, man, I don't know why I'm playing that in VR. I'm not nearly tough enough to play that. And like, I'm not a horror movie person at all. Like, I jump. Like, I don't get really frightened or anything like that. But just, I'm not good with like the sort of the more gross out aspect of horror movies. And boy, does Resident Evil 7 have that in spades.
Yep.
So yeah, I just got to the beginning of chapter 2 last night, and it's like, oh, this is disgusting. This is so disgusting.
Yep. Oh, but, and if I can take a quick aside, being that they were so clearly influenced by Tobe Hooper, it's really sad to hear that he died.
Oh yeah, right. Tobe Hooper passed away. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so I was in the beginning. I was at the beginning of chapter 2 last night. Which, if anyone's watched any of the videos for that, there's a pretty famous scene where you're sitting at the table of the family in the game, and they're just—it's bizarre. But they're like force feeding you. You find out later what they were trying to force feed you, and yeah, like anyway. So I got past that scene, and I'm sort of wandering around the house a little bit, and you turn this corner, and you're playing this in VR, and it's just so freaky when you play it in VR. And down at the very end of this long hallway, one of the father of the family down there, he sort of lumbers into view, and he stands there and kind of leans against the wall. And I knew that I probably should have turned and run, but I was getting ready to turn the game off at that point, so I was like, I'm going to see what happens. And he turns and he looks up, and he's got a shovel in his hand, and he sees me, and he didn't want me to leave the kitchen. He left me locked in the kitchen, and so he starts chasing me, and it is just freaky as hell, man. In VR, it's just really, really disturbing. So, like the way that this house is set up, there's like this kitchen and this living area, and then there's a hallway that goes out and around it, and so he had backed me into the kitchen, and I sort of run around a little bit, and I got away from him, and I got back into the hallway, and I'm running down the hallway, and all of a sudden the shovel that he's carrying comes driving through the wall, and he just crashes through the wall from the kitchen right in front of me. And and when it's like all right here
in your face, yeah,
it really messes with you. So
yeah,
I'm sitting there the whole time asking myself why I'm playing it, but I'm going to keep playing it.
Well, so Greg, one of the most amazing parts of that too is that you're able to, in VR, look around a corner to see him, and then sneak back behind the corner so that he doesn't see you. And just physically doing that with your head and your body is scary as hell.
It adds to the tension. Absolutely. Yeah.
The 3D is great too.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, it's a great game, and it's an amazing experience in VR. Like, if you're into horror games, you've got to find a way to play this in VR somehow, because there's nothing like it. But I constantly ask myself why I'm doing it to myself, but not in a bad way.
Yeah.
Really good. Also been playing Yakuza Kiwami.
Okay.
I think
that's the one that either just came out or is just about to come out. Just came out.
Did it come out?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's out.
Okay. I'm gonna make sure I'm not breaking any NDAs. So actually, full disclosure, Sega sent this to me.
All right.
Yeah, it comes out on the 29th. Let me see here. Written video, August 21st. Okay, I'm good.
Whew.
Okay. Yeah. So this is just I don't know a whole lot about the Yakuza series, to be honest. But I think this is mostly just a remake of the first game, right?
It is. Yeah.
Man, it's pretty. They did a really nice job. I remember playing the first game on the PlayStation 2 and being impressed by what it looked like anyway, because like it's very the area that you're in is like just drenched in neon signs. And on the PS4, it looks absolutely gorgeous, and the characters look gorgeous.
So I'm curious. I worked on Yakuza 1 on the publishing side when that came out, and there is a lot of push from Japan to make it successful, since it was so successful in Japan. And in the US, what we ended up doing is we ended up spending quite a bit of money on voice actors. So it had Mark Hamill and
did it really?
Adson, and we got some pretty good voice talent. Did they keep any of that for this or not?
As far I didn't check to see if there was a voice selection, but the default was Japanese voices.
Oh, okay.
It's all subtitled.
I would imagine they didn't keep it if they added things to gameplay that wouldn't have been dubbed. Like it would have been just too difficult to switch all that stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like, because back in the day, Yakuza was sort of, it felt like an oddity. And honestly, it's one of those series. It's very much like Assassin's Creed to me, in that I played through the first Assassin's Creed and then pretty much have every other game in the series, but I don't think I've ever played any of them.
Okay.
I get them either as presents or like the first couple I bought and saying, I'm going to, I'll play that at some point. And I just never have. And the Yakuza series has kind of become the same thing for me, where it's like, I have every game in the series.
Yeah.
But I hadn't really played them. But those are some pretty damn nice games.
They've always been really good.
They're basically Shenmue.
Well, and also Shenmue 3, did you see the new trailer for it?
Oh man, don't get me started. It looks terrible.
No, we have to get you started on this.
It looks
awful.
No, it looks like so bad.
You know what it looks like? I don't know if you remember this E3.
Here's what it looks like.
Or this E3 where they had just like a spotlight on the facial animation.
I remember that.
TVs where they're like, check out this facial animation. Isn't it amazing? And of course, if we looked at that now, we'd probably be like, ugh, it looks terrible. Yeah. Like that, the teaser that we saw looks like that. It's like from 2001 or whatever, when we saw that initial facial animation demo. It doesn't look like anything has really changed at all. Nobody blinked during that entire teaser. They're very stone-faced the entire time.
They're very stone-faced. That's the key thing. And it's almost like now that we've got a higher fidelity, it's harder to hide the blemishes.
Yeah.
When it comes to facial, not only animation, but I mean the modeling does not look good.
Yep. It's not proportional too.
No, I'll tell you. So the Housers from Rockstar have said in the past that one of their big inspirations was Shenmue, and that stands to reason. You can absolutely see that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I think would be the one and only way you could make Shenmue meaningful again is if they did for Shenmue what they did for Red Dead Revolver and just said, we love this game series, we're bringing it back, right? And this is our Asian Grand Theft Auto, right? That could have been something special and not without precedence. But unfortunately, what we saw there just looks terrible. And it's like maybe the game's great, who knows? But I think that what I said a couple weeks ago is probably going to be true, which is the Yakuza games are going to just be so much better than what Shenmue 3 is.
That's just it. Is that playing, and like I said, I played this back in the day on the PlayStation 2, and I felt the same way then. But I was just reminded of it sitting here and playing it this week. It's the natural evolution it's one evolution of Shenmue. Sure. Because for sure, Grand Theft Auto, the Grand Theft Auto series when it went 3D, definitely is also another evolution, but it's done really well. Even down to like the battles being, I mean, you know, in Shenmue the fights were virtual fighter fights, really. I mean, that's what they were. And this is very similar. They're not quite as deep, I don't think, but you can see it. You can see the pedigree when you're playing it.
Yes.
So yeah, really, really digging it so far, and it's nice to see a remake like this, and the character designs are beautiful in this game. I mean, they still struggle a little bit with things like proportion, especially when it comes to arms and things. Like you still have those sort of unnatural bends at the elbows and things like that, which are hard to overcome, especially when they're wearing long sleeve clothing, because the fabric's just not wrinkling properly.
At this point, it's almost like a trademark look of the Yakuza series, right?
Exactly. But I mean, the faces, like you can see the pores on the faces, like it's really, really impressive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing is that you have an engine that has been iterated on probably since PS2, so it's probably still has a lot of legacy, issues from that era, because I don't think they've done like a full reboot on the engine or anything.
Mm-hmm. One thing I will say though is that I played through the first chapter, and it's kind of hard to find a stopping point in that game, because there's a lot of exposition in that game. Yep. I can see why you spent the money on the voice acting back in the day, because boy, if you'd gotten it wrong, that game would have been hard to take, because there is so much dialogue.
Huh.
Part of the big selling point of the original game when it came out was that the story was written by a celebrated crime novelist in Japan.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So,
cool.
And obviously Kiwami's the same story. So
yeah. But yeah, very, very, very cool. I'm looking forward to playing more of it. This week I might fire it up on my Twitch channel on Tuesday night. I'm not sure. Depends on I've been playing Persona 5 as well, and I totally see what everyone's going crazy about in that game. I don't know that I'll ever have enough time to play through it, but
it's great. It's beautiful.
Oh, it is. It's a masterclass in, I keep saying a masterclass in UI and UX design. Persona 5, like there's nothing
absolutely
like it.
It's gorgeous.
But I'll probably
I
might play Yakuza. I don't know.
So you did. I may have mentioned it before, but did you know also that in Japan, Yakuza has not only a theatrical film by Takashi Miike, but also a TV series.
I did not know that.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me that I think all of them have made it here.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't know how many of these sold. But yeah, I mean, at least the main series seems to have made it here.
Yeah.
Even the zombie one.
Yeah, I don't know how well they've sold, but it seems, I mean, I don't know. Obviously a niche market. They probably have just enough people to, that they know they're going to sell these to make it worthwhile. But glad that they do. They're very cool games.
If anything, they've kind of built.
Yeah, I think it's the app,
right? And there are people who, with each release that come out, including Zero and Kiwami, will buy these again, and we'll just keep evangelizing the series to more people and new people.
It reminds me of
sorry. I was just going to say, you got to remember that the Sega publishing house now is in the same office as Atlas, and I think it's very much the same audience.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think that's true.
That's kind of what I was going to get at, and Atlas is actually a great example of what I was just going to say, because I remember working like rental and retail back in the day for the 16-bit and then the 32-bit consoles, and Koei was kind of the same way, where it's like, wow, they keep churning out these really hardcore strategy, like military strategy games, and the market can't be that big, right? But it was like. Yeah. It's like, no, the market wasn't that big, but they were so faithful. It was such a dependable market that would grow a little bit, but that they could manufacture to the market, and they could make the amount they needed to turn a profit, because they knew, like, we have this very, maybe small, but very hardcore, very faithful market that we know are going to buy everything we put out, because we keep putting out top quality stuff. And it's got to be the same thing with all those ridiculous Koei games that Phil loves now.
The Warriors games.
Oh, the Warriors games, right? Same thing, right? I mean, there's a very hardcore market that just snaps that stuff up. So you've always got that base that you can sell to every time. So
sure,
yeah.
And they're doing a Fist of the North Star game, right? Or that's a Yakuza team who's doing a Fist of the North Star game.
Is it?
Yeah.
Cool.
That got announced at some point. Alrighty, that all you got?
That's all I got, yo.
Okay.
I'm waiting for final F1 2017. I don't have my copy yet. We'll be talking about that all next week, I'm sure.
Well, I'm not going to be here, so you can talk about that.
That's right. I'll be running the show.
That's
all
right.
F1 all the time.
There you go.
Man.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, I've been playing more Splatoon 2. Got into that with the new weapon, new map stuff.
How's it holding up?
It's still fun. I haven't finished the single player game yet. I might end up doing that while I'm flying to PAX in Seattle. I got a couple of long flights.
Dude, my 10-year-old just finished it.
So what does that mean? What does that mean? Means I better get on it.
Means catch up, dude.
Yeah. Get good. So yeah, I'll probably do that on various flights. I've also been playing a new game from Adult Swim Games. Yeah.
Hit us. What do you got?
Yeah.
We had a PS4 release last week on Tuesday of Duck Game.
Right.
Popular multiplayer game on the PC that we released 2 years ago on the PC finally has come to PS4, and you can pick that up now. It's $12.99. Super good deal for an awesome local multiplayer game.
Great couch multiplayer.
Yeah, and it has online multiplayer as well.
Yep.
It is super fun. It's sort of Smash Brothers style with pixel art, kind of like a Genesis style pixel art, and you pick your duck and your hat that you want to wear, and because it's very important. Yeah, not only for what team you are, but the personality of your duck.
Right.
And then you grab a whole bunch of guns, an irresponsible amount of guns in this game, and shoot at other players. It's great. Ducks with guns.
Writes itself.
It does. It's absolutely fantastic. Available now for your PlayStation 4 computer entertainment system. And that's all I've been playing. Really, I've been playing a little bit of Uncharted, of course, as well. I only got, I think I'm on chapter 3 now, so not too far into it, but it's a fantastic game as well. And I did get the Jack and Daxter precursor legacy.
Yeah, that was nice.
Oh yeah,
wasn't it?
For pre-ordering on PSN.
Is that just a high res version of it, basically, or did they?
No, it's not high res. Yeah, it's just like the PS2 emulated games on PS4.
Okay, right on.
Yeah.
So I have not played the original Jack and Daxter since that game was new. So I would like to pick
some of it doesn't age so well.
I'm sure of that. Definitely was better for me, but
yeah.
Well,
the
Sly ages
and Sly
too, and Sly Cooper, of course. Which I wish they would.
Sly Cooper ages beautifully.
I wish they would do something more with that. We don't know what Sucker Punch is working on. I don't think it's Sly Cooper.
Doubt it's Sly Cooper.
But it would be nice to see that come back in some form, right? Anyway, should we do some tweets?
Yep.
Who wants to do the theme song?
Tweet.
Okay. Good enough. Let's do this one from Hacker Alias, the famous Paul, who says he's from the Ice Cream Social podcast.
Oh yeah, him.
It's Paul Mattingly, who says, "Gentlemen, at the Orleans Hotel and Casino where you will be staying during Scoop Fest, they have acquired Space Invaders themed skill-based slot machines. What are your thoughts on this new incoming wave of video game-based slots that reward skill and not just luck? Remember, pinball began its life as a heavily regulated gambling device until it could be proven that it was a skill-based game. Could this open up slots in even more locations with different regulations? Has Ethan's head exploded? Will he play a skill-based slot machine? Looking forward to seeing you guys in Vegas." Hacker Alias, the famous Paul.
I'd like to hear what Ethan has to say to this.
Sure. Yeah. So I have this beautiful Waterfield SF bags bag for my Switch, which allows me to carry the Switch everywhere and anywhere, including casino floors. So while you guys are enjoying Space Invaders, I will be enjoying ARMS, and I won't touch that.
I'm curious if you'd be allowed to play that thing on a casino floor.
I'm sure you would. I'm sure you'd be able to.
I'm just curious.
You can have your cell phones on a casino floor.
Yeah, but that's a cell phone.
But you can play games on your cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then I'll have my Vita in my pocket as a backup. How's that?
Wow. But in all seriousness, how do you feel about the idea of skill-based slots?
I think that are based on uncapped spend, and I think that it induces and exploits behavioral addiction. So I'm very much against it.
Couldn't the same thing be said about arcade games, though?
No, because the arcade games are not. They're not set up to have dispensers that are asking for $100 bills, which is literally what you will see in Vegas. You're sliding $100 bills in. So
an uncapped spend, even if it's 25 cents a pop.
Well, now even more so, arcade games are obfuscated by the
tokens.
Point cards or whatever. It's not even tokens now. It's like point cards. Dave & Buster's has been doing that for years.
True.
But here's the thing, and I do have an answer for that, and that is that it's heavily throttled by being 25 to 50 cents per play. And so the absorption of the content is not anywhere near the level of being able to blow $100 in 5 minutes, which you can do on one of those
unless it's
slot machines.
The Battletoads arcade game, which I think in the Rare Replay
they actually admit that it was impossible to win.
No, they admitted that for the first minute of the final battle boss, it wasn't doing any damage whatsoever.
Right. That's what it was.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and there was plenty of skeevy stuff in the arcade days, but once more, it was not trying to get as much money possible at a rate that could bankrupt somebody. That's
true. All right. So at least some of us will be playing that. I don't know. I'll probably try it. I'm not like a big gambler. I love to go to Vegas, but I don't gamble. Or when I do, I set a limit, like I'm going to spend $50 and that's it. And I adhere to that. I have had no problems with that. So we'll see how that goes when we're in Vegas. Scoop Fest, by the way, coming up the weekend of September 23rd. We're going to be recording an episode of the podcast live. For more information, go to heyscoops.com/shop. And if you use the coupon code BOLDNESS, you get 10% off your admission to Scoop Fest. And you'll be able to see like a lot of other more humorous podcasters than us actually perform. So it'll be fantastic for you. You'll get much more than just a Player One podcast show. And we might have some surprise stuff going on. Who knows? You never know. You never know with this podcast.
Shirtless Ethan.
All right. Hacker Alias Rich Grisham says, what big fall games would you like to try? I'm reading this wrong. What big fall games you'd like to try will you be forced to skip due to time/cash/moral outrage, ahem, Ethan Einhorn constraints?
Our listeners know you so well, Ethan.
So... Did I say Hacker Alias Rich Grisham? I think I did.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm not planning on skipping any big ones that I'm interested in.
Well, Mordor, right?
But yeah, I guess Mordor. Yeah. But that's the thing, is that the whole reason I'm skipping that is because I'm not that interested in it. I'm interested.
Mm-hmm.
But and the thing is that I really need to change. I think I really need to change sort of how I look at purchasing games in general, because there's just no way anymore. Like my backlog, even my recent backlog includes things that came out late last year. There's no way to keep up. And
true.
I think probably this year I'll still end up buying a bunch of stuff that I'm just going to tell myself that I'll play at some point. But I think I need to change that philosophy moving forward. It's just gotten ridiculous.
Well, and because games drop in price so quickly now, like if you're already not going to play something for a few months, you can just wait. Like, right?
Yeah, and the thing is that, and to me, that's the thing that I need to get over personally, is that I'm taking that mindset with some things, but then a few months pass and I just don't do it at all. I don't play those games at all. Like, I'm not missing out on anything really. I mean, normally if there's something that I've missed out on that I really, really need to play, between you guys and sort of the other people that I trust sort of on Twitter and things like that, like, it's like, oh no, you like Uncharted. The new Uncharted is a great example. I didn't pre-order that. The reason I didn't pre-order it is it wasn't actually part of any of those pre-order deals because it was cheap already.
Yeah.
But like, I know that if I decided I just wasn't going to go for that, you guys sitting here telling me how amazing it is, I would go out and pick it up and play it and make the time for it. But otherwise, like, that's the thing. It's kind of like, it's kind of the way I've gone with movies at this point, and I feel myself going that way with games, where it used to be like when I was in my late teens, early 20s, go to a movie every week. Mm-hmm. Didn't want to miss anything, right? Anything that even remotely interested me, I was in the theater, I was watching it, or when we were working at Ziff Davis and we made our weekly runs to Best Buy, like anything I'm remotely interested in on DVD, I'm buying. And I would go home and watch them all right away. I can't do that anymore. I mean, I'm still buying games that way, and I need to stop that. I need to just be like, you know what, this AAA game that I'm sort of interested in, I need to make peace with just never playing it.
Yeah. I feel like I can fairly easily skip Destiny 2 and Mordor and maybe even Battlefront 2. Or maybe even Assassin's Creed. I've watched I watched a half-hour video of Eurogamer playing Assassin's Creed from Gamescom, and while it looks fine, it's like I played Black Flag. I have Assassin's Creed Unity, and I've never booted it up. I bought it during the sale. If I wanted my fill of Assassin's Creed, I could totally get it. And sort of depending on how that game reviews, and not even how it reviews, but how it's how Twitch streamers react to it, or like I'll probably watch like a couple more videos of the beginning of the game just to see how it gets going and kicks off. I may not end up picking that one up. I may wait for a sale on that one. So that's another AAA game that I may not get.
I'm definitely getting Assassin's Creed, but it does come out the same day as Mario.
Yeah, it does.
That's
and Wolfenstein.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so for me, I kind of second what you guys are saying. I just I have learned now, definitely officially 100%, I just don't get into service-based games. So anything you'd call games as a service, not for any ethical reason or anything, I just don't dig it. And so I'm not gonna pass on all those like Battlefronts and.
Well, now that's almost every AAA game is that, because these because publishers are chasing that, right?
Yeah, so I mean, but Assassin's Creed is a story-based game, so things like that I'm definitely interested in. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff, so it's pretty easy to make a comment like that and still feel like there's going to be more than enough games to play during the holiday.
Yeah, I think even if you take out the whole idea of service-based games, realistically, man, between now and the end of the year, there's too much coming out to play it all. And I'm not, and I know, Ethan, like one of the ways that you handle that is you play like every sort of free minute that you get, you got the Switch in your hand or the Vita in your hand and you're playing. And I haven't gotten to that point yet.
Sure.
But I mean, that's one way to fix the problem. But I don't know. But I mean, Mario Odyssey for sure, Wolfenstein for sure. I mean, there are games that I just don't want to miss. But there are a lot of games that I'm, kind of interested in that I'll even buy and I won't even crack open this year.
Well, there's that Metroid game that comes out the 15th of September. There's that remake of Bowser's Inside Story, right? Or which one is that? The remake of the Mario?
Was it the remake? Was it Bowser's Inside Story? I thought it was the first game.
I think you're right. It's the first game.
Yeah, see, like there's one that I'm actually super interested in. I probably won't play because at the end of the day, I've had that experience already.
Right.
I know that story. I love it. It's one of my favorite Game Boy Advance games. But I don't know that I'll find the time to play it again. Yeah.
What about the Metroid 2 game? You're gonna pick that
Metroid 2. I'd like to play because I've never played through Metroid 2. Yeah, and again, where that's on a portable, much easier to find a little bit of time. I can play it during my lunch hour, things like that. But yeah,
cool. All right, Hacker Alias Beard the movie says if you stand still in the Turtles in Time arcade game long enough, Splinter skates by and kills you. What other FU moments have you seen in games?
Wasn't there a Sonic game where he got up and ran off the screen at one point?
Was there?
Yeah, that was a thing. I could be wrong. I mean, there's the 10-minute time limit. It's sort of the classic same thing with Mario, right?
I mean, every game post Sonic the Hedgehog that had that standstill animation, I would do that. I would see if there was a standstill animation in it, no matter what game it was.
Or what's that Bubsy?
Oh,
Bubsy.
Bubsy had one. Yeah.
Yes.
Bubsy had a
Team Ninja was always my favorite with that, where I think it was Dead or Alive 4. If you lost multiplayer 10 times in a row, you'd unlock an achievement worth 0 points.
I got that achievement,
which I loved.
Yeah.
The other one, Ninja Gaiden Sigma, they added, which apparently Itagaki did not want to do. And so if you play in easy mode, you have to wear a little pink ribbon.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I honestly didn't know about the Splinter thing until this tweet came in. I'd never heard of that.
I had never heard of that either, but that's crazy.
But that's cool. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know much. I don't know about any more real moments like that because it's not something I've ever stopped to think about doing.
Indeed. All right. Hacker alias Ken Carrera says, with Ethan not buying Rayman, the Switch complete dream is dead for now. What system would you most want a complete collection for?
As Shane Bettenhausen would say, you will never be Switch clear.
True.
Well, I decided I wasn't going to be Switch clear the moment I opted not to buy Just Dance 2016.
The moment after you bought Cars? You're not living down Cars, man.
I will any day over Just Dance.
I don't
Just
understand
Dance is
that.
just total garbage.
I don't understand that.
Total crap.
But Just Dance,
I would buy Troll and I.
The good game.
It's a multi-million selling series.
Well, there's a lot of idiots in the world.
Oh, wow. You just called my kids idiots. I just want you to know that.
I said that for dramatic effect. There are plenty of good people that like Just Dance, but I just think it's terrible.
Okay.
So, though, to be fair, I would like a complete Switch collection someday. The whole thing, though, is if you want a complete collection, what you do is that you don't, and I learned this the hard way from the Vita, you don't just buy everything at full price retail the second it comes out. You wait for games like Just Dance, where they probably made tons of copies and it's not hard to find, to drop to $20 and then pick it up then. So much as I hate that game, I probably will have it in my collection at some point. And Troll and I, which I almost bought this week, but decided not to because the reviews are so bad.
So the dream is not dead then.
It's not dead. No.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
No. I'll sleep better tonight knowing that.
Is Troll and I a physical release?
Yes, $29.99. It's supposed to be.
Oh my
awesome.
God.
Yeah.
It doesn't look good. That's for sure. I would like to have a Super Nintendo collection. It'll never happen. But it'll never happen. But I totally dig that.
I'd like to have a Sega CD collection. And I'm close. But I think Space Adventure is one of the ones I still need. So it's one of the expensive ones.
Yeah.
And I'm out of a collector mentality at this point, so I don't want to spend hundreds upon hundreds of dollars for a game.
No. Yeah, I won't do that either. I already have Earthbound.
And see, now you're kind of convincing me to get Troll and I, because sometimes the bad ones that everyone says I don't want are the ones.
That's true. That's a very good point. Very good point. Yeah. All right, Ethan, did you say what system you wanted a complete collection of? You already have Vita and Switch, right?
Yeah, you don't get it. You don't get enough.
I've also, so now I almost have 200 games for the Vita, but That's a hard one also because there's just so many of these little Japanese games that come out in these tiny print runs and limited run stuff. And I was keeping up with all of that, but just too much, you know. So I have a very good collection, but not a complete collection.
I still, every time you say that you've got 200 physical Vita games, I always just, I'm so shocked. I just can't believe there are that many games, physical games on that system.
Yeah.
Yep, it's a beautiful. It was super popular in Japan.
2 games. My physical Vita collection consists of 2 games.
Yeah,
and one of those is Uncharted.
What do you play on the go then? I don't like. Is it just all 3DS?
I play a lot of games on the go. That's the thing. I've said that before. Where I drive to work. I drive back and forth to work. It's a 15-minute commute. The only free time I have otherwise is during lunch hour, and honestly, a lot of the time I'm working during lunch hour. So
yeah,
I don't have time to play. Like when we go to Vegas for Scoop Fest, that'll probably be the first time I turn on my Switch in months. I haven't turned on the Switch in months.
Well, you should download some software updates before that point, so we can play Mario Kart or something.
Yeah, I will. And I mean, you know, I'll be bringing Mario Kart, and I'll have Mario and Rabbids. I did pre-order that, so I'll probably have turned it on before then because I'll want to play Mario and Rabbids. But yeah, I mean, that's what I'm getting at is that's the first serious amount of time my Switch is going to get, I think, because that's the portable system. Unless, I mean, does Metroid come out before or after we go to Scoop Fest?
Before.
I may take my 3DS to play Metroid instead.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm going to take both. Why choose?
That's so funny because when you're saying, you know, that's the handheld system. It's like, you know, I just don't look at it that way. For me, I look at Switch and it's like it's the system. You know, it's like it's the machine I'd rather play anything on.
I look at it,
but that's you, Ethan, and you're a little obsessive about things. I'm just going to say that. I say that completely out of love. I think you know it's true. But I mean, I'm just as happy and sometimes more happy playing PS4 and mostly PS4 games. Because most of the time I'm playing on the big screen anyway. I really think the other thing that's happened, I used to play a lot more handheld stuff. I used to play a lot more 3DS stuff when I was married. I don't have that. I shouldn't say I don't have that problem anymore. That sounds terrible. But it's not an issue anymore. You know, like my TV is a lot more free a lot more of the time now. So I don't have to worry about that so much.
Okay.
And I don't have that problem anymore.
Yowza. All right. Acarelius Secret Celeb M says, I just opened a games cafe in Europe with 10 HD TVs and 10 PS4s. What do you recommend I do with my business?
Why ask us for business advice?
Yeah, don't. Tip number
my
one,
advice: don't take our advice.
Exactly.
My advice is,
I would say
share your business plan because I'd love to do that here.
Yeah, it's actually I know a bit about that because I was helping VR Arcades set up, and you got to get a lot to do it in a legit way. You have to get a lot of permissions. Like you can't, for instance, in public have Oculus Rift, but you can Vive, weird stuff like that. So I would say the first thing is just make sure that you actually can, in a public venue, show and get people to pay for the products that you have. Or if you're going to do it on the down low, that's fine. But if you can do it also when you're doing all PlayStation, I would say make sure probably at least 2 of those consoles have a PSVR setup, because the PSVR is going to be the thing that most people will not have access to at home and really want to try.
That's a good point. And you can probably charge double for that. For sure. Get some controller wipes too. Get some nice wipes, sanitary wipes for those.
Yes.
Yeah.
And good luck with your business.
And good luck.
I'm not saying that because I think it's going to fail. I'm just saying, like, that's cool. I'm envious. I would love to own something like that, or a barcade or something like that.
Well, and what's so cool to me about that is, so the comic book shop that I go to every week with my son is also like a big like acoustic games store where they have like, you know, the Magic the Gathering and Warhammer and all that. And you have people there like all the time till really late at night playing. And that's cool, but that's not my scene. And I kind of would love it if there was a place that was very similar to that, where instead of these you know, card games and stuff, it was like PS4s set up and Switches and being able to go and play some multiplayer games that I love.
Just love to be able to go where everybody knows your name.
Yeah, cheers.
We have there are a couple like barcade style things around here where they have PS4 set up and whatnot. And yeah, I mean, when Rock Band and Guitar Hero were at their heights, there were places and groups around the country that used to have like sort of karaoke nights using those games, right? And that stuff is super cool, and I wish there was more of that around, for sure.
There's actually, at least the last I checked, there was supposed to be a really decent one in Vegas. You should go check it out.
Okay, let's do it.
I mean, we'll all be there sometime soon, right?
Yeah, that's true. Hacker alias Jet Pilot says, is NOA completely oblivious to the animosity their repeated botched launches cause? Do they even care? I'll spend my $80 elsewhere.
I don't feel like they care.
I don't know if it's a matter of caring or not caring, right? I mean, they are handling this somewhat differently than they did the NES Classic. They are offering pre-orders, which is new, although places like Toys R Us are not taking them. The problem is, for everybody who is excited about the SNES Classic and wants it for themselves as a real player, there is a scalper who wants to flip 15 systems, right? Mm-hmm. So you have a problem there. Like, they can't really treat everybody. I mean, they can treat everybody the same. Like, let's say they did what some of the editorials that came out last week are suggesting, which is like, you know, agree on a time that these pre-orders are going to go live and push it out then. Is that any different than having them go up at 3 a.m. in the morning?
Yeah,
like,
a huge difference between that and having them go up at 3 a.m. in the 3 a.m.
Or is it any different than not just 3 a.m., but having them go up at different times at different retailers? I mean, if they said they're going to go up at 1 p.m. Eastern on this date, is it going to be any easier for the regular people who want to get them instead of scalpers? I think not.
Well, I don't mean to make this sound simpler than it is, and it's probably actually quite complicated because it's hardware, but what I would love to have seen is if they said, look, we're going to get out as many as we possibly can from the factories, and every single week there's going to be a new shipment until we've hit a point where there's not so much demand that they are flying off store shelves. So if I knew that every single week I had a shot at major retailers, that would make me feel a lot happier.
Yep.
But I don't think you can say that, especially when you have retailers like Toys R Us or Best Buy that often hold stock for specific days so that they can do like, you know, they put out a sales flyer and says this will be in stock on Sunday. Like,
yeah, but I mean, the thing is that
problem too.
The difference there is that you want to do what you can to make sure that they have that stock.
That's true.
Which Nintendo doesn't do.
And even
it's not. It's
right.
been their practice for years. This is not a new thing. Yeah, this is how they do business.
Right. And the thing, to that point also, I mean, if they were able to get very specific and say, you know, Toys R Us only, right? We are going to have 200 delivered to every Toys R Us every week until supply and demand have been reached, or something very specific like that. You know, that I think would be great for people to hear.
Yeah,
it would be.
Maybe not every store could do it, but I would imagine that any store would jump at the opportunity to exclusively be able to support that.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. In another 3 months, I'm sure we'll still be talking about the Super NES Classic.
Oh, yeah.
We'll figure it out. But I mean, remember that not a few weeks ago, you had ThinkGeek and Amazon doing a whole bunch of NES Classic sales out long after they were gone from other stores. So, I mean, you know, stay pay attention to Twitter.
That's great and everything. That's great and everything, but that doesn't change all the hard feelings everyone had around Christmas last year, and it would have been the perfect Christmas gift.
That's true. I absolutely agree. All right,
I can tell you this. Just real quick on the NES Classic, I finally got an extension cable, which has made the whole thing so much nicer to use.
Definitely. All right. Let's do this one from Hacker Alias Z Miller 1902, who says, assuming Hollywood did it right, what video game series do you think would make a good movie or movie franchise? I'm going to say Dead Space.
Dead Space for sure.
Dead Space.
I would love to see Dead Space revived as a movie or series. Not only in games, but
I could see that. Yeah. There have to be other good. Halo, I think, always would have been good.
Uncharted, yeah. Aren't they trying to do that?
Last of Us. They'd gone as far as saying who'd been cast as Nathan Drake, but I don't know what happened after that. I also don't follow it, so I mean, maybe that's well underway, and I just don't know.
Yeah, wasn't it gonna be Marky Mark?
Yes, it was gonna be Mark Wahlberg. Yes.
Huh.
And the internet went nuts because we all said it should have been Nathan Fillion.
Right.
Because honestly, Nathan Drake is just Nathan Fillion, right? I mean,
but younger.
Yeah. So Gears of War would be great.
Gears of War would be a great sort of. You could have a lot of fun doing sort of a Predator style movie with Gears of War.
Yeah, I think Metroid would actually be great, having a female lead like Ripley style.
That'd be sweet.
Yep. Metal Gear Solid, Samba just said in the chat there.
Metal Gear Solid's great.
Yeah, that'd be a good choice. Alrighty, let's wrap it up with this one from Hacker Alias Sam Q Wood, who says, when you guys were kids, how did your parents handle your love of video games? Did they limit how much you could play?
Back in the dark ages.
Yeah.
I was just having a conversation with my son about that because I remember the one bummer was that my dad would get for me the NES, but he only bought for himself like baseball and Tiger Healy. And so now my son gets like all the coolest games, all the big AAAs because I'm buying them for myself. So it's just that they knew that it was exclusively a item for me. And so I got a lot less than I would have loved.
I mean, when I was really young, and I think probably everyone on this show can relate to this because we're all, around the same age. I'm early 40s. Video games were such a they weren't just a kids thing very early on. Like, I mean, adults were going and buying like an Atari 2600 because it was just a new thing. It was
right.
It was a fad at the time, right? I have no idea where we got our Atari 2600 from, but I know we had one. And there was never really, the only limitation that was put on our gaming, which is interesting because we were just talking about this for different reasons, is we had one TV. So the limitation was when our dad said, you can use the television to play video games, you can play. And then when dad wants to watch Hockey Night in Canada, which is actually a program here, or the news or something like that, then we stopped playing video games.
Right.
That's how it worked. And then as I got older and they became sort of much more of a younger person's hobby, my dad wasn't really into video games at all. And like I got my own television in my room. The regulation was, turn that thing on, turn that thing off and go the hell to sleep. You never ever, you still had to get your homework done and you still had to get all your chores done and everything. But that was the regulation. It wasn't like, okay, you have an hour worth of video game time. It's like, no, are your chores done? Is your homework done? Okay, bedtime is this. Whatever you do between now and then is up to you.
Right.
So that's how it was regulated. It's much different than it is now because of exactly the type of things we talk about. Because like with my kids, my two older kids both have iPods. And I have all the different game consoles, and I don't watch a lot of television myself, so they have access to a lot of different screens now, and it is very much you get an hour's worth of video game time, and then you have to, I don't care what else you do, but go do something else.
Yeah,
it wasn't that way.
That's so interesting because that's it for me too. Is it's like we often each have our own screens, and so there's the living room TV where we're all maybe watching something, but Winnie, my daughter, is on her Switch. I'm on my Switch. My son is either on the Vita or a premium game on the iPhone, and my wife is playing solitaire on her phone.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, when I was growing up, it was we the first video game console we had was the Odyssey 2. Nice. And we bought that after the crash, so it was super cheap, and we were able to get like a bunch of great games like super cheap as well. But that was on the main television in the family room, right? And you had to sort of jockey for time there. So you couldn't just watch it when the news was on, or you couldn't play games when the news was on, or somebody else had a program. You had to sort of, go around that stuff, and there were no save points in those games where, like, if you were on a roll, you had to shut it off. If somebody had to watch the news, there was no DVR that they could DVR something and come into it later. Like now, out of this convenience viewing and the various screens that we have, like, changes that equation so much, right? Even when the NES was out, it was still connected to the family room television, so we still had that sort of thing. We were able to move the NES like up to the upstairs television that we had in my parents' room. I didn't have a TV in my room until I was older, and I got like a 13-inch color TV, and then it was paradise. I played through Super Metroid when I should have been sleeping, and it was absolutely fantastic. But now it's so different because you can play at any time. So I think I do sort of the same things that my parents did. Like, they wanted me to finish my homework and chores before I booted anything up. And I do the same with my daughter. We have to eat dinner and we have to do homework first and get ready for school tomorrow with anything we have to pack up before we play games or look at iPad stuff or anything like that. So yeah,
I do a lot of driving with my oftentimes their game time becomes just they're in the back seat, and so they're playing.
Which is a good time for it, for
sure. That's true.
Yeah,
and with today's consoles, it's not like the Game Boy back then when you had like you either had to like leave it on and hope that the 4 AA batteries didn't run out, or
well, I mean that's actually a good point too, because the Game Boy back then, I remember going on road trips with my dad, and my brother and I had Game Boys, and unless you had like a Light Boy or something.
Oh, right.
You weren't playing that at night because you couldn't have the cabin light on, right? Can't drive with the cabin light on. So,
right.
Yeah. I mean, it's a much different world. And it's funny what you're saying, the news, because today that wouldn't as necessarily be a thing. But when you think back to like, the late 70s, early 80s, I mean, the evening news was important. Everyone watched the evening news because that's, especially if you didn't read the newspaper. But even then, I mean, the newspaper was yesterday's news. And of course, if you want to know what's going on in the world, you watch the cable news on like the 4 channels that you have.
Exactly.
So yeah, the TV was a much more central place back then. Like, I think about the way that we use our family room television now, and I use it to watch live sports once in a while, and that's really it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, I think we're at the end of the show. What do you think?
Okay.
Let's do it.
That work for you? Okay. Alrighty, and that is our show for this week. Thank you very much for listening. If you have a question for us or would like to comment on something that you heard, you can direct that to @P1Podcast on the Twitter, or you can go to our internet website at player1podcast.com. There you'll find our contact information, blog entries about Sega CD stuff from Mr. Greg Seward.
Coming soon.
Awesome. Generation 16 episodes as well.
Yeah, they've been coming at a pretty good clip.
That's awesome. For sure. What was the last one you did there? Yeah,
the last
Crackdown and
Sagaya, or better known as Darius 2. If you were an arcade
that was
fan.
Super interesting. Especially, I just got the limited run Darius on Vita, so
right on.
What I love is also like the little tidbits that I would never get anywhere else, like the Titocorp, spelling and all of that. Really cool.
Cool. I'm glad you like that. That's the stuff that I try to fit into every episode.
Awesome. Yeah, so people who haven't listened to it, you will be smarter when it comes to being a core gamer if you're watching it regularly. It's totally worth it for that.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely. Also, we on our website we got show notes. I put in links on the things that we talk about on this show. So anything that you may have heard mentioned, go to those show notes to check that stuff out. Usually it's playeronepodcast.com/ and then whatever episode number you want to look at. Go right to those show notes. What else we got? Information about Scoop Fest. We were talking about that earlier today. It is coming up so soon. It is happening September 23rd and 24th.
Matter of weeks.
Sooner than the SNES Classic.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. So go to heyscoops.com/shop. Pre-order your tickets now. Their website has not gone offline. They are still available. And if you use the coupon code baldness, you can get 10% off.
God.
So definitely do that. What else we got? We got a message board where we can discuss this episode with us and our other listeners.
If you would like to subscribe to the Player One Podcast, you can do so by going to playeronepodcast.com or to the iTunes Music Store.
Well, it's now...
He always corrects me.
It's the App Store. Really,
iTunes App Store.
Or you can go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe.
Apple Podcasts. And while you are at the App Store, you can invest $1.99 to buy the Player One Podcast app, where you can stream all of our 560 plus episodes.
Oh my God.
To your listening device. It's insane. We're coming up on episode 600.
That's right.
You can also contact us through email, Twitter, etc., etc., etc. And if you have an Android mobile phone device, you can go to the Android App Store, the Google
Amazon
Play Store.
Android App Store.
Not Amazon Android App Store to download that very same app for $1.99.
Also cheap.
You can check us out on Twitter. You can check us out on Facebook. It's always at P1 Podcast. You can listen to us where? Stitcher Radio. You can check us out weekly on YouTube, where we broadcast usually every Sunday night at 8 o'clock Eastern.
Yes.
YouTube.com/P1 Podcast. And of course, if you like what you've heard, I'm sorry, I'm watching something under the TV while I'm doing this. If you like what you've heard and you'd like to support the show will always be free, but we do need some coinage to keep the lights on, keep the server going, that sort of thing. You can go to patreon.com/P1 Podcast, where you can support the show to the tune of however many dollars you see fit per month.
That's right.
Keeps CJ swimming in, I don't know, panda stuffies. I see a panda back there. Is that from Ranma One Half?
It is.
Nice.
You're right.
I loved Ranma One Half.
That's a great show.
It went on a little too long, but it was consistently.
Yeah.
What else we got, CJ? Is there anything else I missed?
Well,
here. I think
PAX West is coming up next weekend, or this coming weekend, really. And I'm going to be at that at the Adult Swim Games booth. You can come by and play some video games and say hello. I'll be there.
Come say hi to CJ. He'll invite you to his room in Vegas.
No.
Right.
That's nope. So, and maybe Phil will be walking around too. I hear maybe Phil will be.
You'll want to get low to the ground to find Phil.
Yeah, you'll have to. Yeah.
Hard to find in a crowd.
That's right.
And remember, if you see Phil, ticklish on the left side, right under his arm.
Yes. Yes.
And he loves that.
That's not a theory. That is a fact.
Yeah.
And you should act on that. CJ.
Yeah.
Thanks for hosting the show this week, man.
Well, thanks for showing up, Greg.
I show up because I care, CJ.
I know.
You know who else cares?
Who?
Ethan cares. I want to thank Ethan for caring and showing up as well this week.
I care so much that I'm going to make sure that next week isn't all about F1. How's that?
There you go.
There we go.
So, thanks for listening as always, and join us again next week when we talk about F1 for 110% of the episode.
All right.
Yeah, No. What you get 50% of the episode F1. I get the other 50% to talk about spend caps.
Lowest rated episode. It'll be interesting to see that viewership number drop to single digits.
Oh.
All right, let's get out of here.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.